This video is going to be a little different from normal, but I felt like talking about it since this became a topic I got interested during this year. I became a brony in 2024. How did this happen? Let's start from the beginning. Everything I knew about the show before we started the journey. Now, I knew it was a popular kids show that many adults seemed to love for some reason. It sparked so many adults to love it, and I just didn't know why. Every time I heard the word brony, I was like, I don't get it. I don't understand why you adults love it so much, but I'm not gonna judge. I saw Smile HD many years ago, like 2016 I'm assuming, because that's around the time when I started watching reactors and comics, reacting to YouTube poops and other weird wacky stuff about popular TV shows. I mean, it was a huge thing back then, so of course I know Smile HD. But there were other HD videos I wasn't aware of until this year, and that was quite fun discovering for the first time. Another thing I knew about this show beforehand was, I remember the clip of "What I tell y'all about coming in my shed." I know what the video is from, but I never seen the full video, so that clip is out of context for me. So, for many years, I knew about the show a little, as you could tell. However, how did this all start? How did I get into the show from knowing nothing about it besides a few things here and there? Me, who wasn't interested in the show for most of my life, what happened? It all started roughly April of this year. I was chatting to a good friend of mine, and we were talking about stuff like I was talking about stuff I was interested in at the time, which kinda sparked the My Little Pony topic when I mentioned Strangers, which is a song of Scratch 21. If you don't know what Scratch 21 is, I don't blame you. It's a very slightly niche thing. It's a band. Oh, what's it called again? What kind of band is it? What the hell is the name again? The name where a band is, like, consisted of cartoon characters, but not, like, the real characters? Oh, what the frick is it called again? Hold on. Oh, this pisses me off. I hate when I forget what things are called. I'm just gonna search up Scratch. Virtual band, that was the word. Scratch 21, it's a virtual British punk band consisting of anthropomorphic animal characters. They've made quite a few projects in the past that did pretty well, but the biggest one they've made was Strangers, back in 2014, featuring Isle Monty. If you were in the MLP community, that name may sound familiar to you since she was a huge, big part of the community. Along with Shady Vox, because Shady Vox is the voice of Matt, which is the lion character, the main vocalist for this band, who was sadly exposed for threatening content creators, so naughty, that's not very friendship of you. Now, I had a hunch that Strangers was pretty important to the MLP community, because I do remember seeing an animated video for that song, which had over 14 million views. I mean, that fan-animated music video did numbers, I'll tell you that much. Now, at the time, I didn't know why it was so big in the community, I just knew it was, but let me tell you, after getting into the show, this song being part of the community just makes so much sense. This song feels like it belongs in the show. It fits the show so well. Like, my whole view on the song has changed since before and after getting into the show. So, that's cool. So I showed them the song and they were like, hey, that's popular in the MLP community. Let's just keep talking about MLP. This seems pretty interesting. So that's pretty much how it sparked, how it begun, but it didn't really begin until they started showing me songs from the show. I mean, what better way to show how good a show is by showing how good the music in the show is? Now, at first, I didn't know what to expect. Of course I didn't. But after they showed me some songs, I was like, hey, this actually don't sound too bad. They have some pretty good bangers here. What's going on? So the more music I listened to, the more I realized, yeah, this sounds pretty good. I'm kind of intrigued what this show is about. They showed me some songs from the show, and they showed me some songs from the Equestria Girls spin-offs that we'll talk about later. Now, after we listened to some of the music from the show, we were like, hey, why not? Let's start watching the show together and see how things go. They were gonna hear my reaction to watching to the show for the first time, and I was like, hey, I might as well. I mean, if this show is as good as it seems, why not? The first 3 seasons of the show we ended up breezing through fairly quickly, especially season 3 since it was half a season's length. After watching season 3, we ended up watching the first Equestria Girls film, which, you know, to stick in chronological order at least, because the first Equestria Girls took place just after season 3 ended. I'm not going to give too much spoilers of the show in case you want to check it out for yourself. If I do end up saying spoilers, I will put it on screen telling you what to skip to if you don't want to hear it, just in case you get interested in the show as well. But season 4 and onwards was when the show went from good to great. That was the moment that I was like, wow, I think I'm becoming a brony. This show is friggin' good. Where's the show been all my life? I mean, I knew where the show was, I just never got interested in it. Where was my interest of the show my whole life? Can you stay on, please? Thank you. So yeah, season 4 and onwards was when I was like, oh yeah, this is a great show. It was good. But season 5 and onwards is when I consider the show based. Season 5 and onwards is based. So far. I'm going to say it right now. I have not seen season 8 or 9 just yet. And yes, I know that season 8 will not be as good as season 7 because of the story writing and trying to implement a lot of plot lines from the movie that we haven't seen yet. I'm purposefully not watching season 8 yet because we have to watch the movie first. And I'm not talking about Equestria Girls, I mean the My Little Pony movie. I've heard it's not the greatest, but I'm still pretty intrigued to check it out because it's MLP. So, but yeah, going back to season 5 and so on, it is so damn good. Season 5 has bangers. It has some of the best music. One particular episode in that season has the best music. For those who know, you know. I'm pretty sure you know what episode I'm talking about, but we'll talk about it in a bit. But for now, I just want to say, season 5, bangers. Banger episodes, banger music. And then we get to season 6, which really was fun. It was really fun. It has some of my favorite episodes in it, like the Office episode, which I didn't expect. We even got a zombie apocalypse episode. There's a reason season 6 is one of my favorite seasons. It is so fun. And then we get to the last season I just watched, season 7. The best season of the entire show, by far. And it probably wouldn't have been if it wasn't for one particular episode that I'm sure, to those who are bronies and to those who've watched the show, you know exactly what episode I'm talking about. But I just want to say that season 7, because of that episode, and it had other episodes too that were brilliant. I love all the episodes in season 7. I think season 7 had some of the best in it, and I have a lot of favorites from the season as well. But that one episode is a masterpiece. It just is. Now, as I said, we haven't seen season 8 and 9 yet. I know 9 is going to be the final season, so I'm going to take my time with it, because I don't want the show to end just yet, okay? I want it to last as long as I can, so instead of watching 6 to 7 episodes per session, we might watch like 3. Also, season 7 and onwards is when I started purposefully avoiding looking at the title of the episodes before watching them, because I want to simulate, like, watching it on TV where you don't know what the episode's about, you don't know what to expect, you don't know the name of the episode until you get into it. It's a whole lot of fun when you don't know what to expect. Now, speaking of which, this is some stuff from the show that I did not expect coming in. The 2-parter intros and finales to the seasons go hard! I don't know what they put into those episodes, but I want some, because oh my goodness, so damn well made. They're so damn good. I mean, we got a freaking epic anime battle at the end of season 4. Spoilers. And that's pretty cool. They also touched on topics that I didn't expect, considering this is a kids show. I mean, you get basic topics like listening to one another, bottling up anger, literally. But then you get topics like racial treatment, self-harm, disabilities, cults and cult leaders, learning about your deceased parents through your friends and family, and so on. I mean, they do not hold back at all. Like, I have a lot of respect for kids shows that aren't afraid to take a step further and, you know, talk about the real stuff. I think that's really cool. This little kids show, you know, about cute little colourful ponies talking about this kind of stuff. My Little Pony is a show that, from the surface, it looks like a little kiddie show, but once you get into the show, you'll be surprised what's in store. But yeah, other stuff I didn't expect. The music. Now, I know I already mentioned how good the music was, but I ended up liking some of it so much that I end up listening to it in my spare time, including instrumentals, which I guess it tells you how good the music is. Like, they don't miss. We got male Pinkie Pie, aka Weird Al Yankovic. That's something I didn't expect coming into the show. I mean, the fact that Weird Al has a Ponysona that is canonically married to Pinkie Pie, it just makes the show 10 times better, honestly. There were also other celebrity-inspired cameos and characters and references and stuff like that as well.
Thank you very much.
There was just a whole lot of references, especially season 6. Once you get into season 6, you'll begin to realize this is the season of references. There are references left and right. And the last thing I didn't expect coming into the show was a Daring Do body pillow. Don't even ask. There is no context behind it. There's a body pillow in the show, okay? It just happens. Now, I'm going to talk about what I like about the show and what I dislike about the show, because there are still a few cons about it that I will like to discuss in a bit. First, let's talk about what I like about the show. Or rather love, because I freaking love the characters. Each character has their own personality, and it's really fun to watch. It's something that gets lost in a lot of media nowadays, like, a lot of shows just don't have enough personality, but this show is the definition of personality. They get all the characters just right. And the best part is, they only get better as the show goes on. Like, even the background characters have a lot of character. There is just so much character in every design that I just love. Especially in the later seasons, where the background characters have more detail on them, and well more thought out. It's like, it just adds so much more depth to the world, and I just freaking love that. And one more thing that I would like to say that I like about the show is the references. It's really fun spotting a reference. I was like, oh, that's a reference to Back to the Future or something. I don't know. There's a lot of references that we know it's a reference, but we just don't know what the reference is to. But that's still cool, because I really like references. Now, here are some things that I dislike about the show, or it's more like minor inconveniences. It's not that I don't hate it or anything, it just slightly bothers me. You could tell season 3 was rushed. Okay, so season 3 is like a sore thumb. It sticks out so much compared to the rest of the show, because every season of the show has 26 episodes. Apart from season 3, which has 13. It has half of a season worth of episodes, and there's a good reason why. They wanted to rush season 3 and get it out the way. I think it was because of the creator behind the show was not the greatest person. They wanted to implement their racial views onto the show, and they didn't like that. No. I think I'm getting it wrong. I don't know if this is the reason why, but I know that for the first 3 seasons of the show, there was the creator of the show who had a lot of political views and stuff that wasn't very, friendship. They ended up, kicking her off the show at some point, and I think this is the reason why the season 3 was short. I'll have to clarify that with my friend, but I guess that's one of the reasons why it could have been cut short. Season 3's finale was hella rushed, and you can tell. They try to fit as much as they could into this episode. The pacing is way too fast. There is so much happening, you're trying to keep up with it, but the pacing is just way too fast, and it leaves season 3 unsatisfying. The season 3 finale holds one of the most important moments to happen in the entire show, and I'm gonna spoil it to you in 3, 2, 1. Twilight Sparkle becomes an alicorn. She becomes the Princess of Friendship, and that is a huge moment in the show that ended up being in one of the worst episodes. It is really just a shame. I don't hate the season, and I don't hate the episode. I still like the episode for what it was. It still had fun, enjoyable concepts that I really did like. It should have been a 2-parter, but yeah. Another thing that I will say that I didn't like was they used the Wilhelm scream a bit too much. Like, especially in one season in particular where they were using, like, one every episode. Like, each episode they would use it at least once. I think they used it twice in an episode. And I was like, come on, really? Again? Okay, whatever then. Like, I get it, it's the Wilhelm scream, it's in everything, but do you really have to use it that much? They even used it in one of the most recent Equestria Girls movies that I watched, and I was like, oh great, even in Equestria Girls you can't escape it, it's freaking everywhere. They love that Wilhelm scream a bit too much. I know, it's in everything, but you don't have to use it freaking often. And one final thing that I will have to spoil, and it's a pretty major spoiler, so definitely skip to wherever on screen the number says, if you don't want to be spoiled. But basically, during season 5, after Diamond Tiara gets redeemed and the Cutie Mark Crusaders get their Cutie Mark, I did say it was a big spoiler, okay? We don't get much of Diamond Tiara ever again, for some reason, which is a huge disappointment. I mean, this was the episode that changed my entire view on Diamond Tiara. And then they just don't use her again when I like the character now. You see her every now and then in the background, but she's never like a character that is involved in any way, shape, or form. You have so much opportunity that you're missing out on because you're choosing not to use her. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna just take this off. If it doesn't want to stay on my head, might as well not. But it's like Diamond Tiara is a very interesting character as a redeemed villain. I want to see more Diamond Tiara the way she is now. You know, seeing how she's really like as herself. Again, it's not really the biggest deal. It doesn't take away how great season 6 and 7 is, and the rest of season 5 for that matter. But I will say, justice for Tiara. So I know I haven't seen all the seasons so far. I want to dedicate this section of the video to my top favorites. So let's begin talking about the top favorites. So first, let's talk about my top favorite seasons. I will be doing an update to this once I finish the show, but here are my top favorite seasons. At number 7, at the very bottom, we got Season 3. Because as I said, Season 3 is half a season, it is rushed, it's still good, it's a very important season, it just should have been done a lot better. At 6th place, we got Season 1. Like, Season 1 is really just the humble beginnings of the show. It really started off good, but as I said, it just gets better. Which leads me to number 5, Season 2 is better than Season 1, because not only did we get introduced to one of the best characters in the entire show, which again, we'll discuss in a bit because he will be in my top favorites. At the very top. But not only that, but the whole season of season 2 just had really good episodes, and then we get to end off season 2 with one of the best finales. It is so good. Season 2 follows behind season 4, which is a great season. That was the season where I was like, oh yeah, this show is great. We got the super ponies, that was really fun. The Tree of Harmony, and throughout the course of the season, we get to see episodes where the ponies, they help out some pony and then they get a reward back. And that reward holds importance to what's going to happen in the final 2 episodes, you know, the finale. I don't want to spoil too much, but that's basically what season 4 is about. And that really gives season 4 some spice. It gives it flavor. At number 3, we got season 5. As I said, each season, it consistently gets better and better and better. The second half of season 5 has freaking bangers. Not only did season 5 begin with an absolutely incredible 2-parter, as you watch throughout season 5, you eventually get to the finale, and my goodness, the finale for season 5 is my favorite finale in the show so far. We get a freaking time travel episode? I'm like, what? We get a time travel episode? It's so freaking cool. And it just plays on so many concepts that I really love. So it's like, season 5, holy moly. What you doing to me, season 5? Why are you so good? Now, I will say, second place is only falling shortly behind first place. So these are almost neck and neck, but it is still second place for me. Season 6. Season 6 only shortly follows behind Season 7, which we'll get to in just a bit, but let's talk about Season 6 first. Season 6 holds some of my favorite episodes. As I said, the Office-like episode and the zombie apocalypse episode, easily 2 of my favorites. You'll definitely see that in my top 3 list. Also, just in general, the entirety of Season 6 is just really fun to watch. It really just is. But then we have Season 7. I'm still not going to mention that episode I'm talking about because we're going to mention that in just a minute, but I will say it holds the best episode in the entire show. Season 7 doesn't have a 2-parter intro, but that's okay because even though it doesn't have a 2-parter, it still had an intro to the season regardless, and I don't feel like it really needed a 2-parter. It's a 1-parter that didn't feel rushed. It wasn't like the season 3 finale where it was forced to be a 1-parter so you know it's rushed. This is an episode where you know it was meant to be 1 episode, so I know why they didn't go for the 2-parter, because that leaves an extra episode to work with. You get an extra episode of whatever the hell else there is to be. And there were a lot of episodes that I really enjoyed. There were other episodes besides the best that I really loved so much. In particular, I'm talking about the episode where they published, okay, this leads me back to talking about season 1 and a bit of season 2. For the first season and a half, usually they end off the episode writing in their books what they learnt today about friendship, which they eventually stopped doing past season 2, which I'm fine with because this was more than just a regular kids show. This was becoming bigger than just, oh, let's end every episode with what we learned today. It's just, no, we're doing more than that now. But yeah, in the first few seasons, they did write down what they learned about. And in season 7, they decided to write everything they learned in their book and, publish it. Because, maybe another pony will learn a thing or two about friendship with the books they send out. Which turned the episode into the most meta thing. It became a bit too real. This whole episode was dedicated to really how bronies reacted to the earlier seasons of the show and how they would perceive the main 6, and I think that is some of the most cleverly done things that I've seen in this show. It is so freaking meta, and I freaking love it. It has to be one of my favorite episodes. It's not in my top 5, but it should be, because maybe I will change my top 5 mid-recording, because wow, that is such a good episode. It is a great episode. Brilliant, even. I freaking love that one. But yeah, season 7, definitely my top favorite, with season 6 only falling shortly behind. But now that we talked about my favorite seasons from the show, let's talk about my favorite episodes. Now, I only wrote down a top 5, and my 5th place actually technically has 2 episodes, because again, it's a 2-parter, so it didn't feel right not putting both of them together. So, at number 5, I have the season 5 finale, episode 25 and 26. It's a time travel episode, so I freaking loved it. Well, you can't go wrong with a time travel episode. I mean, I guess a lot can go wrong, but they did it excellently, and it was really fun to watch. I'm not going to say too much more than that. There's a lot that I could say about this episode, but I don't want to spoil too much. So at number 4, we got Crusaders of the Lost Mark. This is the episode that I talked about, which, again, spoiler warning, that's the episode where Diamond Tiara gets redeemed and the Crusaders get the cutie mark. So, there's a reason that that's one of my top favorites. Not to mention the music in it. Bangers. Absolute bangers. They had like 6 songs in that episode, but I freaking loved all of them because they were really good. But for my top 3, I think you pretty much know what my top 3 is if you've been paying attention. At 3rd place and 2nd place. Now, actually, 3rd and 2nd place are tied because I don't know what I like better. So I wrote it in a particular order just to make it better for me to understand. So at 3rd place, which I do consider, tied with 2nd, is 28 Pranks Later. Season 6, episode 15, The Zombie Apocalypse. This episode is really good, but the second half of this episode is my absolute dream. If I were to make a fan animation of My Little Pony, it would most likely be a zombie apocalypse style thing, and the second half of this episode is exactly what I would probably go for. I know zombies are a little bit overdone in media, but I freaking loved how it was pulled off. But at 2nd place, which again, tied, the Settle Row Review. That's right, Season 6, Episode 9 is unironically one of my favorite episodes. Which actually holds one of my most favorite quotes from the show.
This chair? Not close.
And I can't stop quoting it all the time. I think I have an obsession with it. It really is just The Office. And that's why I love the episode so much. This humor is so Office, and I freaking love it. But now this finally leads me to talking about the best episode of the entire show, and I think everyone who has seen the show will agree with me that this is the best episode. Season 7, Episode 13. The Perfect Pair, because it's literally the perfect episode. Let's talk about it. The Perfect Pair is the episode that discusses the whole dead parents and learning about them from friends and family, and that's what this episode is mainly about. But my god, the episode is done so well that there's just nothing wrong you could say about it. It is so brilliantly done, and I'm not going to lie to you, okay? I'm going to be completely honest. This episode has made me cry more than once now. I have cried because of this episode several times, and multiple times it was because of the song that's in it. We'll discuss my top favorite songs in a bit as well. It was so emotional. I knew that this was going to be the best episode of the show coming in because my friend was she was hyping it up a lot before. Like, even when we started the show, she knew that when we got to this episode, it was going to be the best. It was completely worth watching this entire show for this episode. They really are the perfect pair. They are the perfect couple. You can't help but fall in love with this episode. And the ending of this episode, it broke me. It's so bittersweet that I ended up bursting out in tears. I was crying. It was the most beautiful, well-made episode in a kids show that I have ever watched. It was brilliant. But now, enough talking about my favorite episodes from the show. Let's take a step back. Let's talk about my favorite of the main 6, okay? I actually have 2 lists for this. I have 2 versions. I have one for Season 7 and one for the show overall. So I'm gonna do my top main 6 for Season 7 right now. Starting at the very bottom, we have Twilight Sparkle. And spoiler alert, she's at the bottom of my list in both lists. So sorry, Twilight, you are the least favorite. I still like you. You're still a good character. I like the other characters just way more. So at number 5, I have Applejack. At number 4, I have Rarity. At 3, I have Rainbow Dash. At 2, I have Pinkie Pie. And at 1, at first place, I have Fluttershy. The reason Fluttershy became my top favorite for Season 7 is, oh my goodness, Fluttershy has so much character development from how she was in Season 1. There are a lot of moments in the later seasons of the show where you know that Season 1 Fluttershy would not be the way she is now. She's a lot more assertive because she learnt assertiveness in the earlier seasons and over the course of the season, and that is why I freaking love the show as well. Fluttershy has character development, and so does the others. The other characters have character development as well, but it is most prominent in Fluttershy. I mean, Fluttershy in Season 7 is based Fluttershy, honestly. There is one spoiler I know about Season 8, and that's the whole Fluttershy goth look. I've seen what she looks like in that look. She looks great. Now for my top 6 main overall. At the very bottom, as I said, Twilight, Sparkle, you're at the bottom again. At 5, I have Rarity, and 4 at Applejack, so that has swapped. The only reason being is because Rarity in the earlier seasons, I really didn't care that much about. Like, I liked her character, but she was good, but I liked her a lot better in the later seasons, you know, when she was more fleshed out and I got more used to her. So she's at 5, and Applejack's at 4. At 3, I have Fluttershy, and that's only because my top 2 favorites is really hard to put my top 2 favorite characters below, so unfortunately I have to put Fluttershy at 3. At 2nd place, I have Rainbow Dash. I love Rainbow Dash so much. She really is just 20% cooler than the rest of them. I'm sorry, but she really just is so much cooler. She has quite the ego, but for a good reason. Because she is cooler. And finally at number 1 is Pinkie Pie. To those who watch the show, you'll know why. Pinkie Pie is Pinkie Pie. She is unique. She has some secret powers. She can break the fourth wall. She has the ability to do really anything that no pony can do. She is just a really special character that you just can't not put her at number 1. She has to be number 1. Otherwise, it just doesn't make sense. And while we're on the topic of top favorite characters, I'm just gonna give my top favorite characters in the show in general. I will not be counting any of the main 6. Now, I do have honorable mentions, meaning these are characters that I don't know where to put them on the list. And hell, my list for the top 5 is also a bit iffy. I don't actually know where to put some of the characters, apart from one. I know what my favorite character is, but every other character, even, I guess 2nd place will remain as well. But I don't know where to really put them, but this is the list that I made that I was the most comfortable with. So for my honorable mentions, I'm just gonna quickly spit these out. Zecora, Mod Pie, Weird Al, I mean, Cheese Sandwich. I mean, come on. It's male Pinkie Pie and it's Weird Al. You can't not put him somewhere on the list. And Flim Flam Brothers. Because the Flim Flam is the Jim Jam are brilliant. One of the characters introduced in season 2 that just is a reoccurring character that you just can't help but love every time they're on screen. But now this leads to my actual top 5 that is a little bit iffy, but this is the best I get. At 5th place, I have Spitfire. I freaking love Spitfire, and especially the relationship between Rainbow and Spitfire. It's just fun to watch on screen. Spitfire just has that fiery personality, I guess you could say. At 4th place, I have Vinyl Scratch. You just can't hate on Vinyl. You just can't. Vinyl is just a really fun character every time they show up. At 3rd place, I have Trixie Lunamoon. I freaking love Trixie, especially later seasons. In the earlier seasons, she really does not show up much, and there is a reason she shows up a lot more in the later seasons, but again, I won't say why. But once she shows up a lot more, my goodness, would you love her character. At 2nd place, we have Spike. He's the friend that everybody deserves, honestly. But at 1st place, again, if you've watched the show, you know exactly who I'm talking about. My boy Discord, baby! Discord is the best character in the entire show. You cannot tell me otherwise. Discord is based. Discord is the greatest character in the entire show, okay? He just is. He gets introduced in season 2, and throughout the rest of the show, you can't help but fall in love with him every time he's on screen. He steals the show. This show would not be half as good if it wasn't for Discord being part of it. Hell, he even got a whole song dedicated to him, which, even if you're not even part of the MLP community, you'll still know the song. You'll still recognize it. The song is so big that I'm sure you'll recognize it, even if you don't know the show. I mean, this will lead me to talking about my top favorite songs from the show, and top favorite of the fan-made stuff, which will include Discord, which is in my top 3. It's only a top 3 because I need to listen to some more fan-made stuff and listen to it again to give a better opinion. Now, of course, before we get to my top 5 favorite songs from the show, I will talk about my honorable mentions, and yes, one of my honorable mentions is from the Equestria Girls movies, so it's not exactly all from the show. It's mostly from the show. It's just one song in the honorable mentions. The whole top 5 will be from the show, don't worry. So my honorable mentions, I have 3 songs. Flawless, Winter Wrap-Up, which is from season 1, so that's an oldie, and Rainbow Rocks. Rainbow Rocks is a freaking banger. But now for my top 5, just to get it out the way. At 5, I have Babs Seed. The track is so catchy, I can't help but love it. I probably should have put this at 4, but instead I put it 4, You'll Play a Part. It's catchy, it's memorable, it's a really important song. You know that is a title for a song that is going to be meaningful to the characters in some way. enter the show. At third place, we have You're In My Head Like a Catchy Song, which is the song from the best episode in the whole show, and you can tell by the title that this is a love song. I know, love songs are very overdone. Every song these days are love songs, but let me tell you, this is a love song that is so beautifully written that you can't help but smile to. At second place, we have This Day Aria, because, wow, I just realized I don't have The Spectacle in my honorable mentions. Oh my goodness. The Spectacle is in my honorable mentions, but it was almost in my top 5 because it honestly is one of the best songs in the show. And yet I forgot to put it in my honorable mentions. Forgive me for that. So The Spectacle is one of my favorites as well. But yeah, at second place we have This Day Aria. Another reason why season 2's finale is so based. But at first place, what I consider to be my favorite song of the entire show, which takes place in the same episode as The Spectacle, because as I said, this is the episode that had the best music in the show. Season 5, episode 24, the main attraction, The Magic Inside. The Magic Inside is the greatest song in the entire show. You can argue and say This Day Aria is better, but in my opinion, The Magic Inside is the best. I want to learn to play piano just so I can learn how to play the song. And I tried attempting doing that with my keyboard on my phone. I tried using that. It's really annoying to use, but I tried to play, a tiny keyboard, which is, digital. It's not physical keys that you can press. It's really hard to play, but it's the best I got because I don't have a keyboard. If I had a keyboard, I would be learning this song because I want to learn piano just to play this song. It is that good. Now this leads me to my top 3 favorite fan-made songs, with third place being Discord because, it's Discord. And then I decided to start singing it, so I'm cutting this all out. It's a good song, okay? Shut up. But at second place and first place, nothing can beat it. For second place, I have The Moon Rises. And at first place, it is the magnum opus of the community, the best song that the MLP community has ever made. This is a masterpiece. Lullaby for a Princess. The lyrics, the music, the animation that was made for it, everything. This is an animation and a song that I highly, highly recommend you check out. Even if you don't want to watch a whole TV show. I know the title sounds very girly, just like the show, but trust me, it is completely worth it. Lullaby for a Princess is the song form of the perfect pair, I guess. I don't know if that's the best way to describe it, but that's the best way you'll hear me describe it for now. I've been recording for almost an hour and a half and I haven't even talked about half the shit yet. Oh my goodness. And during all that recording, I did not realize that I forgot to do my top favorite Equestria Girls movies. Now, I watched the first 4 of them, so I'm just gonna spit these out right now. At the very bottom, we got the original Equestria Girls. Started off alright, it had its charm, but it got better as it continued, of course. At third place, I got Friendship Games. At second place, I got Legend of the Everfree. And at first place, I have Rainbow Rocks. Now, this was the most difficult to get right. I really didn't know where to put what on the list, because I was originally going to put Legend of the Everfree at the very top. I didn't know where to put Friendship Games either, because I really like that one as well. Probably one of my favorites, even though it's at third. Also, I just love Rainbow Rocks because of the music. If the theme song is one of my favorites, or at least in the honorable mentions, it really tells you something. Anyway, back to the video. But now that I have talked about my top favorites from the show, let's talk about some of the fan-made stuff that I have discovered. I've watched some pretty good fan-made stuff. Some creepy horror stuff, other HD videos, beautifully animated masterpieces, and even some slightly cringy stuff that came from the times, It was the olden days, so it tends to be a little bit aged. So it was this year that I discovered Cupcakes HD, baby, which is arguably more fucked up than Smile HD. Oh boy, that was quite an experience to watch for the first time. But that's not all. There were different versions of that. I discovered Diamonds HD, which that was also pretty fucked up. Rainbows HD, which is basically Rainbow taking her sweet, sweet revenge. Oh yeah, there was also another variation of Smile HD where Fluttershy won the fight. She deserved her redemption, okay? She needed to win that fight. And then there was Derpy Gets Pranked. It is disturbing. The amount of kids who were traumatized because of the MLP community. This community is just freaking amazing. Fucked up at times, but oh my god, I love it. My Little Dashie. This is one of the many things that really hit hard. Like, that ending hurt. It was so emotional. It made me cry a bit. It was very, very ouch. Left a mark. a cutie mark. It was really sad. Remind me never to watch that again. That hurt, man. Also, the dude's content, his other content, the less sad, more cute, and, funny. He has some of the most entertaining and enjoyable content that I've seen in this community. It is really fun to watch. Pink fluffy unicorns dancing on rainbows. Yeah, that was a fun discovery. Freaking love that. Freaking adorable. Quite a change of mood compared to my little Dashie, I'll tell you that much. Button Mash Adventures. I gotta say, man, justice for our boy, voiced by Shady Vox, whose mother happens to be voiced by Monty. And guess what? Shady Vox and Monty were both in the song Strangers. Maybe another reason why Strangers was so big in the community. But yeah, it is a real shame that the creators behind Button Mash deserved better. Look, Hasbro, I love you for making this show, but also fuck you for filing a cease and desist on these guys. Like, they made a really cool spin-off concept that honestly should have been... Like, there is an episode out there, you can watch one episode, and there was, like, a second episode in the works, but then they had to file a cease and desist and say, naughty, you can't do that, and you're not allowed to do that anymore. Shame on you, Hasbro, for ending that. Look, Button Mash Adventures could have been one of the most coolest spin-offs made by the community. And look, man, community made fan work, like, they can make some hefty good stuff. And this could have been one of the greatest things ever made. But you had to ruin the fun. You just had to. There was a song that came out a few years ago that basically gave their farewells to Button Mash Adventures, and it's just sad. Button Mash is just a character that had so much character. More than the show ever, because this is a design of a character from the show, like a background character, that they decided to give character to. And they did a hefty good job on it, just for it to be taken away. It is rather a shame. Justice for Jan Animation Studios. Justice for our gaming boy. Double Rainbow. Now, I did watch a fan-made episode, which is very close to, like, you could tell in the movement that the animation is not on par with My Little Pony, but the whole animation itself, in terms of the way it looks, the way it moves, is really close to the real show. So if you watched this when you were, like, a little kid, you'd be easily fooled. This is basically a fan-made episode where Rainbow Dash is sent into different dimensions, which means different characters from different shows. Like the Powerpuff Girls. It's basically a crossover. This is the closest to a crossover you can get with My Little Pony. It's really well done. And lastly, I can't really talk about fan-made stuff without talking about Snowdrop. Now this fan animation was the perfect pair before the perfect pair, if you know what I mean. This was the perfect episode, which, by the way, this this episode takes place over a millennia before the show, so this is a prequel in a way. It is different from the show. You don't get to see the main six. We do follow along a character, a blind Pegasus by the name of Snowdrop. Obviously, that's the name of the episode, who, as I said, is blind and discovers the wonders of winter. And I'm gonna have to rewatch the episode at some point because, my goodness, the episode is so well done. It is so good. If there was ever a fan-made episode that I would suggest you check out while you're watching the show, or, after you watch the show, Snowdrop is definitely one of them. Because, as I said, it is the perfect episode, or at least, because this was made way before the perfect pair. So, before the perfect pair was made, this was the perfect episode. Okay, let's talk about Ponysonas and OCs. I know that people have made some really cool designs for their own characters and stuff, and I was told about a website called Ponytown, where it's basically sort of an MMO, MLP place where you can just sit and vibe with your friends, but a lot of people, including my friend, use it to create OCs with it. And that's what I did. I decided to create my first ever OC, which goes by the name of Carrot Leaf. This was my first attempt. I didn't know what I was doing because I had no idea what I was going to create. The cutie mark part is what made him Carrot Leaf, because I didn't know what cutie mark to give him, and I was trying to experiment what the hell I was going to do. And then I guess a carrot clicked into my mind, and I was like, this actually looks kind of good. You're going to be a carrot pony now. You're going to be a farmer. You're going to be an earth pony, and I think it turned out great. He went through a few different changes, but eventually this is what he ended up looking in the end. I really like him, he's cool. Eventually, I did create 2 more OCs. My second one turned out so perfect that I literally never needed to change his design again after I made him, because I think I made him perfect. His name is Fairy Fluff. He's a unicorn. I named him that because he looks like Fairy Floss with his colors, and I guess he's fluffy. I might update his character design to be a bit more fluffy, just to fit with his name, but he turned out pretty perfect first try. And then I made Forest Sky, who is a Pegasus. She went through the most changes because honestly, I really didn't know what I was going to do with her. I tried doing a little bit more experimentals with her design, and it was a little bit harder to get her right, but eventually I came up with this, which I think she looks pretty alright. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to create my own Ponysona. I'm going to create me as a pony. So eventually, I did. This was the design I came up with. The original design I had for my character, in which I named him Slick Screenshot because of his cutie mark being a camera. I'll admit, it was not a great mashup name. After a while, I was like, you know what? I felt like a camera didn't suit who I wanted to be, because yeah, I do like filming and stuff, but I'm like, that's not for me. Gaming is for me. So I did the impossible. I did the illegal and changed my cutie mark eventually. I changed it to a controller because, as I said, gamer. And then eventually I decided to draw my OC, but first I just take out my old tablet. I'm gonna draw my OC. Voila! This is what I came up with. I decided to draw the background of my room first before doing so because I knew I wanted to draw this for the thumbnail. So you already seen what this looks like from the thumbnail, but now you can see it in its true glory. Now, I will say right now, that is not the final design. That was my first design of the character. I have decided to draw an updated version of him at some point. I made him way more symmetrical. I decided to try to give him some extra detail in the hair, which ended up not sticking for my final design of the character, though that detail can always come back. I'm still sort of figuring it out how I want this character to look, but eventually I wanted to make my own OC chart sheet, or whatever you call it. You have your character in like different angles and facial expressions and different attributes about them and describing what they're... You probably understand what I'm talking about. Eventually I decided to do that, and when I did that, I decided, you know what, if this is going to be one of my final designs of the character, I'm going to make one more change to my cutie mark. It's going to still be a controller, but it's going to be less PlayStation inspired and more Nintendo inspired, because I feel like Nintendo fits better with the world of Equestria, and eventually I came up with this. This is my official cutie mark design, and honestly, I freaking love it. You can tell it's just straight up like an SNES, but like, it's got a joystick, hence the name change, which I forgot to mention. Because I changed my cutie mark, which means Slickshot didn't fit in anymore, because it was no longer a camera, it was a controller. I decided to give my name, and this took a while, by the way. Like, this took a while to think of, because I was thinking of a lot of names, but eventually I came up with the perfect name. Well, I did with the first part. My friend kind of helped me with the last name, but my Ponysona's official name is Joy Slick Drift. You know, I play on words with joystick and slick, and then drift. It only just makes sense. I honestly think it's perfect. Maybe at some point I'll change it to just Joystick Drift, but Joystick Drift is like, you could tell it's a me because of my name. At some point, I do want to create some more OCs because I've been planning to make an OC of an alicorn at some point. Hell, I might even do 2 of them. I might do 1 female alicorn and 1 male alicorn. And I will say, there is another weird thing about the show. There are like no male alicorns. For some reason during this whole show, you never get an alicorn that's a male. It's kind of weird, but every single alicorn ends up being a princess. So where are the princes at? Where are the male alicorns? I'm sure they can exist, but I don't know. It's just weird that we haven't seen any of them. Maybe there's a reason for that. But yeah, I'm still recording. It's been nearly 2 hours. Holy shit. Now that we're done talking about Ponysonas and OCs and stuff, I'm just going to talk about some extra stuff that it just sort of a bunch of miscellaneous stuff that I couldn't really put into a chapter. This is just the extra stuff that I wanted to mention. Discuss my absolutely, utterly, absurdly, undoubtedly, ridiculously terrible attempts to do a voice impression of Rainbow Dash. Now, as I said, my voice impression isn't exactly the best, so I'm only going to play a short bit of it because it's a little bit cringe.
Hi, I'm Rainbow Dash. This chair, not clothes. Now the Wonder Boats are really cool. I'm like 20% cooler, 'cause I'm Rainbow Dash.
New Gen 6 leak. Okay, so I don't really know much about this, and I watched barely anything about it. I just know that there was a Gen 6 leak, which showed at least half of the characters from Gen 4, which is the show I'm talking about. If you don't know, My Little Pony has different generations. The first gen was when My Little Pony was created, back in the 80s. There was Gen 2, Gen 3, and Friendship is Magic is Gen 4, which is the one that everyone knows and everyone loves, and the one I've been watching and falling in love with, basically. Then you have Gen 5, which we shan't discuss because, I mean, Gen 5, I don't know anything about Gen 5 besides it being, 3D animated and, very modernized, and I'm like, stick to 2D, please, because I appreciate that you're trying to go for something new, but come on. You know for a fact you got Gen 4 right. You got Gen 4 perfectly. Just make Gen 5 about Gen 4, but like a spin-off of it. For instance, make Gen 5 about the Kunima Crusaders, honestly. I think that would be really cool. And I've heard that the main character becomes an alicorn in the first episode, and I'm like, really? The first episode? You don't deserve to be an alicorn yet. We don't know who you are. So, already from that, I already know I'm not gonna like this show that much because the animation is just less iconic. Characters look less personality filled. I don't know. It just doesn't look that great. Gen 6, though. Gen 6 genuinely looks like they're going back to their roots. And because of the Gen 4 characters, aka Friendship is Magic, the good show, this looks like it's going to be good. Now, because they only showed Twilight, Pinkie Pie, and Rainbow Dash? Yeah, because they only showed 3 of the main 6, many of us are worried that we're not going to ever get Fluttershy, Rarity, or Applejack, and that's really concerning because you really just can't have the main 6 without the main 6. Yeah, you're probably going to introduce some new characters, to fill in the space, but come on. You cannot bring back Twilight, Pinkie Pie, or Rainbow Dash without bringing back the rest of them. You just can't. You must have them all together. Because that's what friendship's all about. The elements of friendship, the elements of harmony, have to be all together. The entire friendship collection, you know what I mean? But, I'll tell you right now, the animation style genuinely looks intriguing. It's similar enough to Gen 4, but it's just different enough to feel fresh and new. And I'm really excited to see what Gen 6 has in store, assuming that it turns out good. I'm just gonna come out the gates right now and tell you that I personally I don't think there will ever be a generation as good as Gen 4. Gen 4, My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, is the perfect show of this caliber. They can get pretty close. They can make a show that's just so great that you just can't help but fall in love with. But Gen 4 is gonna be very, very hard to beat in terms of storytelling, characters, the humor. There's just so much about this show that I don't think they can bring. Respect for trying to change it up, but also I would much rather you just stick to what worked, because why fix what ain't broke? It just doesn't make any sense. So yeah, I really hope Gen 6 turns out really good. And when Gen 6 does come out, I will try to watch it when it comes out, assuming it's good. I don't want to ruin my perception of My Little Pony because I have really high expectations for the show and I don't want it to be ruined by Gen 5. But it does look good. The animation style and everything about it just looks like Gen 4 2.0. We'll just see what happens. Me and this friend want to make a combined YouTube channel so that we can make reactions. Yeah, there is some MLP content out there that I really think would make great reaction content. We've been purposefully holding off some stuff just so we can react to it when we eventually get around to it, and I think that's going to be a cool idea. I don't know when it's going to happen, sometime next year I'm assuming, and we might do it maybe sometime after I finish the show. There's still 2 seasons to go through, so it's going to be a while, but eventually I do want to make reactions to some of the fan-made stuff at some point, because there's really good, really cleverly made reactable content out there that I just think would be really cool. My voice is dying. I've been recording for well over 2 hours, right? Yeah, well, I've been recording for over 2 hours now. I'm gonna have to cut this down to like 40 minutes or something. I have no idea how long this video is gonna end up being. I'm gonna have to cut out a lot of stuttering and a lot of just straight up me not knowing what to say half the time. But anyway, I just want to leave this video off on a few final things. I just want to say that I highly recommend giving this show a try. Even though this is a show for kids, it is just so well made that I can't help but suggest checking it out. And even if the show doesn't look like your kind of thing, I totally respect that. That's okie dokie Loki. Fair enough. But to anyone out there that's genuinely curious or who at least wants to try this show out, definitely go ahead and watch. It's free on YouTube. You have no excuse. If you want to watch the show, do it right now. It's free to watch on YouTube. It is a dream come true. This is where I've been watching it on this whole time. All of these episodes in full, in high quality, on YouTube, for free. And I'm going to link it in the description as well for you to check out in case you're interested. You know a kid's show is good when even adults enjoy the show. If I told my 13-year-old self that I was going to become a Brony at 21, I can almost guarantee that he'd be very confused as to why. I mean, that's assuming I knew what a Brony was at the time, back in 2016. I think I did. I'm sure I would have heard it at some point during 2016 because, again, it was pretty big at the time. And even though I never got into it, I still knew some parts about My Little Pony because of the fandom and its weird, wacky stuff that they made. So I had to have heard of the word Brony at some point. I've known about the word Brony for years, so I'm just going to have to assume I did. But yeah, if I did know, he would have a lot of questions. What would I do to record his priceless reaction to me giving in the news? But yeah, I think I said enough for now. Thank you for watching. I did say this video was gonna be a little different from normal, maybe even completely 180 from what I do, but I just felt like talking about it because, again, this is something I've been very passionate about over the course of the year, and I felt, why not end the year off by actually talking about it? So yeah, thank you for watching. For those who stayed to the end, you are officially 20% cooler than the rest of the people who clicked off or skipped to the end. Mad lads. Becoming a Brony in 2024 was not on my bingo card, I'll tell you that much. And I've been recording 2 hours and 15 minutes. There we go. Holy moly, macaroni and cheesy balls and a stick of dynamite and peanut butter jelly sandwich on a sofa in a toaster. That is a long last recording. My goodness.
Happy New Year's, by the way. Do I hear a psychology?